Welcome to the Europe Conversation. My guest this week is Estonian Prime Minister Kristen Michal. Estonia is one of the biggest spenders on defence in the whole of NATO. He says everyone must increase their expenditure because, as he tells me, Putin needs war to stay in power. Kristen Michal, Prime Minister of Estonia, thank you very much for joining us on the Europe Conversation.
Thank you.
We've had such an intensive time of late. We had the NATO summit in The Hague, where we had Donald Trump arriving. And we also saw one of the most remarkable things I've heard him say at a press conference was actually quite alarming. He was asked, first of all, whether he saw Putin as a direct threat, an immediate threat. He described Putin as someone who was misguided. And then he was also asked whether he believed Putin had designs beyond Ukraine. And he said, possibly. What does that make you think coming from Estonia?
To be honest, we know our neighbor. For Putin, it's all about being in power. To be honest, that Putin needs conflict like fish needs water, because if you don't have a conflict, then probably people in Russia will be asking, where is my son, where is my husband, where are my assets, and so on. So to keep everybody under the lead, keep people quiet, keep the regime in power, Putin needs this kind of conflict. So that's why we understand that until the regime and Putin changes his goals, until then Russia is acute threat to Europe, to NATO, to all the civilized world.
Do you think it is possible then that Putin could try some sort of territorial conquest in Estonia or the other Baltics?
I would say that we should not be afraid of it, because we are prepared. That is a Finnish saying, I'm quoting it often, that next year Estonia will have defense expenditure 5.4% of GDP. Last year we were in top 3 of NATO by GDP. So I would say that we are getting prepared, and as a member of European Union and as a member of NATO, which recently, a few days ago, committed to increasing defense expenditure, I would say that we feel strong with NATO and with European Union.
Because there was Donald Trump on his way over on Air Force One when he came to that summit in The Hague, casting doubt over Article 5, saying he'd explain more when he got there. Now, when he arrived, he did give assurances that America was committed to Article 5, but there's always a sort of a haze around it, and there's a question as to whether in the moment, if there was some sort of territorial conquest by Putin, whether the United States and NATO as a whole would vote to trigger Article 5.
I would say that Trump's message in that room was quite clear, and also the same in the press conference afterwards. He said that seeing that everybody agreed not to please him, but just to increase the NATO's capability and also NATO's lethality, agreed to increase defense expenditure. And to be honest, going from 2% recommended level to 3.5 plus 1.5 is a huge step for everybody, to be frank. And as he saw that and said that his message is also that he's committed, as long as he's in office, the States is committed to NATO, and that's quite a clear message to NATO members that the United States is committed to NATO.
When you look at Estonia, obviously you're top of the league when it comes to GDP spending on defence, over 5%, and probably that will go beyond that in the coming years. But then there are countries like Spain, for example, who say that's a problem for them, Slovakia as well. What do you say to those countries?
I will say that it's not only the questions of kilometers, how far you are from Russia. It's also about recognizing that Europe works as a team, and NATO also, because NATO is only the strongest alliance because everybody contributes and everybody has certain capabilities to support each other, because though Estonia is small, but as you said, our defense expenditure will be more than 5% in GDP in military terms, not even the wide terms. It probably will be even more. So we can contribute in certain capabilities that others don't have. I know that other Baltics, other Nordic countries are increasing their defense expenditure. So as we protect the eastern flank, we expect our allies in other parts of the world to do the same. So,
I mean, what's your reaction, I suppose, to the likes of Pedro Sanchez? I mean, do you feel a little bit let down?
I would say that my expectations probably are, yes, that as I know that every country has their own questions, let's say, in domestic politics. But to be honest, in NATO's declaration, I also asked the Secretary General Mark Rutte that do we have some kind of exemptions for Spain. He said that no, there are no exceptions in the exemptions. So I would say that Pedro Sanchez will also have to elaborate himself that how he will fulfill the NATO criteria.
Are you worried about any sort of malaise occurring within Europe, within NATO, those countries that from a demographic point of view, that people will say, well, hold on a minute, I don't want to see all this money going towards Ukraine and defence. I want to see more investment in education, social healthcare, housing.
This kind of messages are always there, to be honest, because it doesn't even depend on which area you're spending, because to be honest, some people are saying you should not spend so much money on roads or something. There are always these kind of messages, no question about it. But I would say that Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson put it very nicely that yes, we need a welfare state, but welfare state also needs protection. So if you want to have a free and prosperous area, which Europe is, most free and most prosperous area, then you need to protect also, and you need the capabilities and not only a phone call to your big friends. So I would say that increasing investments in defense is also increase of security in a very prosperous area to keep it free as it is.
I mean, how do you explain that to your voters when they see the defence industry making an absolute killing? I mean, they're endless profits when people can't afford various things, various basic things, and they don't see an end to all of this. I mean, how do you speak to your voters about it? And also, what does Estonia do? Do you cut spending? Are you borrowing?
Yeah, we do both. We cut spending, we are borrowing, and we also raise taxes. To be honest, this not everything in that order are not very so popular in Estonia, to be honest. But where would it be? So nobody likes the taxes and nobody likes the cuts in public budget. But you have to do what you have to do to increase defense spending. But yeah, but to explain it to people, I would say that it's probably quite simple. But because we are doing it for ourselves, for our kids, for our neighborhood, for our countries, not to anybody else. And also in Estonia and probably all over the Europe, it's the same scenario that defense industry right now is booming and going up. And I would say that it's also an addition to our economy because it's, yeah, for the bad reasons, but it's quite innovative. In Estonia, we have almost already 200 companies going into defense.
One of the things, I suppose, one of the priorities or the points of Vladimir Putin's territorial conquest is to re-establish the Russian sphere of influence across, especially the Baltics, Europe and so on. But in Estonia, the Russian language, for example, has been all but eliminated in terms of Russian-speaking schools and so on. Can you tell us a little bit about the action taken by Estonia to say, well, no longer will there be Russian influence in our country?
Yes, we have been quite systematic, but same probably in other Baltic countries and all the other countries that have been influenced by Russia's actions, because we are quite vigilant. To be honest, for example, Estonia was the first country in the world that since 2007, it has been a very, very long time that we became under constant cyber attacks from Russia's side, from state-side criminal players. And for us, the only way to cope with Russia's this kind of influence, hybrid attacks and cyber attacks, is to increase our cyber capabilities, which are quite good, to be honest. And we have this kind of system also that the public sector is working with private sector in Estonia. But Russia has not decreased its attacks against us. So with the language, yeah, the same. We have this kind of reform going to Estonian schooling. And I would say that it should have been done 20 or 30 years ago, but we're doing it right now. There are small debates, but nothing major. And we also had an electoral reform saying that citizens who can vote for Putin, for example...
so Russian people with a dual passport, is it?
Yeah, Russian citizens cannot vote in local elections. Yeah. So that is a quite clear message that, let's say, half of Europe has done it already. So we are not in front even with that, Russian citizens do not participate in local matters. If you want to participate in local matters, it's quite obvious you should be a citizen of that state.
Just final question. The EU has said that it's unacceptable the level of death in Gaza, the starvation, the number of civilians being killed, the attacks on hospitals, civilian infrastructure, lack of food and so on. What would you like to see the EU do in relation to Israel, international law, obviously notwithstanding the fact that hostages need to be released by Hamas? But what do you think the EU should do?
The High Representative presented a review with the Israel compliance, and we also delegated her this question that she will have a set of possible means for the next meeting that will be the European steps, because it was also a very emotional debate, as you said, that everybody wants to have a peaceful and diplomatic solution.
But what do you think the EU should do? I mean, it's, as we've seen, the language is pretty extreme, a graveyard for children and so on. What do you think the EU should actually do about it?
What the EU is doing and probably will do is trying to use its influence on Israel as much as possible to achieve diplomatic results and to achieve peace. But at the same time, as you pointed out, that hostages also need to go home.
Okay, Kristen Michal, Prime Minister of Estonia, thank you very much for joining us on the Europe Conversation.
Thank you.